10.2 is about graphing parabolas. And so they give you the basic equations of the parabolas. And again, this HK thing is not new to us, okay? That's just what your center of your parabola is. And again, if you look here, again, opposite in parentheses, it just depends on what it is. A vertical one is going to be x minus h squared plus k, and a vertical one is going to be y minus k squared plus h. So it kind of just flips. And again, too, how do you know? Well, what equals it? So if y equals it, it's vertical. If x equals it, it's horizontal. So at this point in time, whenever you did a quadratic, you always looked at vertical ones at y equals. You have not really done or dealt with horizontal ones, so it's just kind of throwing it at you here. So example 1 talks about what is the equation of the parabola with vertex at the origin and focus 0, 2. Focus is on the y, and again, we talked about this with all the other conic sections we dealt with. When we focus on the y, that means so is your vertex. So this is going to be a vertical parabola. So I'm going to have the equation y equals 1 over 4c times x squared. Now the purpose there is that it tells me that it's a vertex at the origin. Okay, so that makes my life a whole heck of a lot easier. So I end up with 1 over 4 times c, which is 2 x squared, which gives me the equation y equals 1/8 x squared. Pretty simple. B wants to know what the focus in the directrix. Now the directrix is the line that's parallel underneath the parabola, or that's, either horizontal or vertical underneath the base of the parabola. And so that's going to help us here. Now, again, we have negative 112. So again, what you end up with is, remember, it's 1 over 4c. So 4c is going to equal negative 12 because that 12 is on the bottom there. So what's c equal? Negative 3. So what that tells me is my focus is at 0, negative 3. And since it's at the origin, my directrix equation is y equals 3 because it's a vertical one. Example 2 is what is the equation of the parabola with vertex at the origin and directrix x equals. So again, we have x equals. So our equation of our parabola is also going to be x equals, which kind of makes it nice. But the directrix has the equation x equals negative c, just like it did at y equals negative c in the other one. It's going to have the equation x equals c because of the x equals. So how do I find what c is? So negative c equals, 1.25. So c is going to equal 1.25. So if I'm writing my equation here, what I'm going to end up doing is, remember, it's x equals 1 over 4c times y. Again, because the vertex is at the origin, we know we don't have to translate it anywhere. Y squared. So let's go ahead and figure this out. It's x equals 1 over 4 times 1.25 y squared, and calculate our 1.25. It's negative. So it's going to end up giving me negative 1/5 y squared. Now we started this completing the square thing back with the circles, and we're going to do it here. And what we want to do is, when it's giving me in this form, I need to go ahead and complete my square again to figure out what the heck this should factor down into and try to find my vertex, focus, and directrix of this parabola. So what I'm going to write is y equals x squared minus 4x plus, leave a space, plus 8. So again, when I'm completing the square, I take the middle term, which is negative 4. I'm going to take negative 4 over 2 and square it. Now I added something to the right side. Let's go ahead and add the same thing to the left side. Negative 2 squared. What's it's going to do for me is I'm going to take this now and bring it down. Well, x minus 2 squared plus 8, leave that plus 8 sitting over there, is 4 plus y. Well, let's solve for y. Subtract 4. That's going to end up with y equals x minus 2 squared plus 4. And that's my equation of my line. So what is my vertex? My vertex is HK, opposite in parentheses, so 2, 4. That would be my vertex. What's my focus? Well, the focus is really h and then k plus c. So let's solve for c. So I need to look in front of this. See how there's nothing in front? That's really just a 1 there. So my 1 over 4c equals 1. So let's solve for c. Multiply by 4c. 1 equals 1 times 4c, which is 4c. Divide by 4. So c equals 0.25 or 1/4. Either way, it doesn't really matter. So my focus, again, it's vertical. We know it's a vertical parabola because it's y equals. It's 2 and then 4 plus 0.25, which is 4.25. And my directrix then, or the equation of my directrix, is going to be y equals k minus c. My k is 4, so 4 minus 0.25. My directrix is y equals 3.75. Example 5 wants to know what the equation of the parabola with vertex 3, 7 and focus 5, 7 is. So the minute I know that this parabola is going to be horizontal because the x changes. Okay, so it's not going to be vertical because the y is not changing, the x is changing, so it's going to be horizontal. So we know that HK is my vertex, which is 3, 7. So how can I go ahead and write that in a parabola? But we'll mark it for here right now. Let's deal with my focus. We know that since it's horizontal, the focus is really h plus c, comma k. If it were the other way around, it would be k plus c. But we know that's going to be 5, 7. So how do I find that? Well, we know that that's 5, so 3 plus c equals 5. So c is going to equal 2. That's what my focus is at. Or that's going to help me write my equation, actually. So we know that x changed, so we're going to start this with x equals 1 over 4 times c. So 4 times 2 times y minus k, which is in this case 7 squared, plus h, which is 3. We end up with 1 over 8 times y minus 7 squared plus 3.